Testing 1, 2. 1, 2. Hi, good evening. Happy 5th of October, is it? How are you guys doing? And I hope you know what is going to happen today. I mean, I will explain it, but for starters, our agenda is more reading workout, specifically with CAT 19, a couple of passages. One of them is supposed to be difficult, and just to balance the session out, I'll try and do one easy one as well. That's the overall agenda, and then practice our skills over and over again, as we have been doing in the last week or so, a couple of weeks at least. Hi Astha, how are you? Hi Karan, how are you? How was your day? Is this the second time? No, this is the first time today, right? That was yesterday. So this is that usual initial 2 minutes for hi, hellos and getting comfortable and getting ready, getting in the mood, and then we'll start off. Jai Mahakal, good evening. I'm good, how are you? Yeah. So in case this is a session that you're catching absolutely without any context, it is better to go through the reading comprehension plus CR playlist, even which is available on the YouTube. And if you're a course member, then it's best to just follow the order, even if you have missed the live, doesn't matter. Follow the order from the beginning and then come up. It's not that these are separate conversations, it's just that there is a lot of work already. And my brain kinds of records what I did last time. So I might have separate ideas in different videos slightly, and I might have covered an idea earlier and I might not worry about it later. So going through the whole thing will definitely help. And you will see by the 10th or the 12th or the 15th such workshop that is just logic work, concentration with very basic tools which we learn very early anyway. Watch the PNC lecture again. So if you watched it twice, then you will be hitting expertise by now. I hope you also realize that it's more logic work. Instead of thinking of it as PNC, just think of it as deductive reasoning challenge set. I still haven't figured out this pace, so I need to, I think, slow down and get used to this sync in conversation or chat. So our agenda for the day, my name is Ankur Surivanshi, my courses are available here, and the agenda for the day is 19-4 and 19-8. We have already done 3 more 19 CAT 19 passages already. One of them again was supposed to be difficult, but most of us did figure it out fairly easily. So shall we get started, and with which one? So this one is called common parlance is called folk music, the folk music passage. Somebody was asking about it, and I don't think this poor passage has a name because I think it was easy, so nobody gave it too much attention. I'm waiting for the usual suspects. Some people I do know that have been following the conversation. Karan is one of them definitely. And then I shall get started, or I'll go solo anyway. Shall we start? Shall we start? Hi Jyotsna, hi Karan. So I think let's start. So before once again I begin this session, I have to emphasize the importance of critical thinking, or let's say basic commonsensical logic while doing these passages, because in this particular passage, again the passage you will find reasonably easy to read. It's not very heavily loaded with very difficult words. The sentences are short and sweet. The idea is simple enough, though it might be a little all over the place. But once you hit the questions, then it becomes a game of a game like DILR. So you evaluate the option. If you find that whole idea difficult, you have to revisit the passage and check again. So that would be one challenge. And secondly, same idea, different words, and that's why investment in vocabulary definitely pays off sooner than later, right? So you will see one idea mentioned there and the same idea in a little bit of a different language in the option. So can I match those two ideas even though they are in different framed languages as such? So that is let's say today's special pointer, because a lot of basic work has already been done. So I'm assuming all those skills are already in place. So this is something that we have to pay attention to. So I hope this pre-commentary is fine, and as usual we are going to read it together, some of it, all of it, and then evaluate the question and the options, that too together. We can come back to the passages paragraphs as needed, right? So once again, for starters, I don't want to jump in the first paragraph, because I have definitely learned that I can also start from the bottom of the story and then work backwards, and I will have a better idea. And chances are that if the first paragraph is overly complicated or something, my beginning of the process will not be derailed. So let me start with the second paragraph, because in this particular case, the first paragraph is difficult in the first half of it. So I'm reading, and I hope we are reading together. And my reading will be the slowest version. I'm assuming your reading in your mind will be faster than this, right? So in our own time though, so again I get a contrast word. That means whatever idea is now going to happen is going to be in some contrast with whatever has happened in the previous paragraph. The word folk, so my mind is thinking, is it about folk art, folk traditions? Let's see. Folk has achieved the rare distinction of occupying fashionable and unfashionable status simultaneously. Okay, so in our time, it is both fashionable and unfashionable simultaneously. Just as the effusive floral prints of the radical William Morris now cover genteel sofas. Is this sentence making sense? Effusive means full of color or energy. Floral means related to plants and flowers. Floral prints of radical, that radical means somebody who is out there, somebody who is a revolutionary. Radical William Morris now cover genteel sofas. That means middle class, middle society sofas. So what was once radical has now become middle of the society, conservative. Is this sentence making sense? Not that ideally as a RC teacher, sentence translation should not be my task, but just for now. Is this sentence making sense? Just as the effusive floral is flower, flowery prints of radical, that means out there revolutionary artist William Morris now cover genteel sofas. Yeah. So the revolutionary intentions of many folk historians and revivalists have led to music that is commonly regarded as parochial and conservative. So can I see the connection between the floral prints, which were radical in the beginning and now have become part of the genteel culture? Find out the exact meaning of genteel also for better comprehension. And here the attempts of the revolutionary, so the common words are radical and revolutionary. Write them down, maybe radical is equal to revolutionary. So the revolutionary intentions of many folk historians have actually made it parochial and conservative. The same thing that was happening earlier with the floral print of William Morris. Are these two ideas connected together now? Yeah, so I'll continue going. And yet, okay, great, another that the music has become parochial and conservative, and which is again telling me about a contrast that is going to happen. So chances are I will see the opposite side. And yet, as newspaper columns periodically rejoice, folk is hip again, influencing artists, clothing, furniture designers, celebrated at music festival, award ceremonies, and on TV, reissued on countless record labels. So can we see the contrast happening around this yet? So before the yet, there is parochial and conservative. Just use the word conservative if parochial is not making sense to you. And yet now, these days, it has become very hip, and all of this clothing, furniture, celebrated music festival, etc. are details of how it has become hip. Hip means very relevant, cool with it, very fresh in the pop culture. Are we okay with that? Great, so I will move on. Folk is sonic, shabby, chic. So chic means cool, appreciated. Shabby means not very formal, a little informal maybe. Containing elements of the uncanny and eerie. So this is all details only, and because the overall passage is about details, I am going through everything. But none of it, if you notice, is difficult to read, or none of it is even science or technology which you have to understand. It's just somebody explaining the status of a particular art to you. Uncanny and eerie, as well as an antique veneer. So it's old, antique means old. A whiff of Britain's heathen dark ages, that means it's drawing its connection from very old age. The very obscurity and anonymity of folk music's origin. So let me read that sentence again. I kind of miss the rhythm sometimes. The very obscurity and anonymity of folk music's origins open up space for rampant imaginative fancies. So I hope you notice what is mostly happening in the paragraph. Folk music was considered, had become, or was becoming, or is becoming conservative and parochial, and yet from time to time it becomes very hip and cool and part of the modern culture, and it influences everything, artist, clothing, designer, etc. And then this little bit of poetic element in terms of uncanny and eerie, antique, Britain's heathen dark ages. What is the meaning of heathen? You heathen children, you faithless heathen children, you pagan massacrers, and such an interesting word also. Anybody knows the meaning of the word heathen? While people answer, I will still look at this whole paragraph and ask you to generally, because it's all over, right? It's saying first it was radical, then it became conservative, but yet again it has become very cool and chic, and it is influencing art and design and labels, etc. And new records are coming out, and a little bit of connection to the old history. Are we okay so far? Yes, no. Heathen means evil. I don't know the meaning, but I've heard a song called Heathens from the movie Suicide Squad. So that's the game. If you just activate your brain in terms of learning from anywhere, next time when you hear any word which you do not know, you must stop and find out. That is VA Prep Rule 0. That's what we do the whole year mostly. Sujit says someone who doesn't acknowledge God. Yeah, godless essentially. Or let's say somebody who does not acknowledge my God. Let's say my God is Christian and I reach Africa and I see some natives there and I will call them heathen because they are not following my God, right? So heathen, or another word, similar word is pagan, Pagan. Pagan cultures refer to those European tribal, or let's say culture before the big religions came about, and pagans typically believed in many gods. So the Romans were actually pagans, Romans as well as Greeks. Are we okay so far? And I'm getting the passage. I'm not getting very bullet point like structure, but I'm getting the idea mostly that okay, we're talking about folk music and how it is perhaps contradictory. It is conservative, yet it is cool also. It is influencing other art forms, and it is very old. So I have repeated the idea a couple of times in my own head to summarize it into this couple of sentences. Are we okay with that? And move on. Because overall the passage is quite small to read. It's 4 paragraphs of this kind of language, right? Which even when you get stuck at difficult words, it doesn't matter because you know it's not technical, it's just describing a social phenomena. Okay, so continuing, Cecil Sharp, who wrote about this subject, which subject? Your answer should be folk music, believed that folk songs existed in constant transformation. So you're learning a lot. One, you're learning folk music has an old history. It's uncanny and eerie, goes back to the British dark heathen ages. And now I'm learning that songs are in constant transformation. A living example of an art form in a perpetual state of renewal. So all of these ideas need to hit you, right? If you want to understand the story well. And now I have understood this idea. Folk songs, they exist in a state of transformation and renewal. That idea is going to be explained, right? One man sings a song and then others sing it after him, changing what they do not like. It is the most concise summary of his conclusions on its origins. On what's origin? On folk music's origin. And what are you in this story? One man sings and another man sings and he changes what he does not like, is an example of this constant transformation, a perpetual state of renewal. Tell me if you're okay so far. Yeah, nothing too difficult, just have to stay with the game. So he who, Cecil Sharp, compared each rendition of a ballad to an acorn falling from an oak tree, every subsequent iteration sows the song anew. Isn't this the same story going on? So can I say this is the big idea and these are details that I could have gone through faster or after reading connected to this big idea that we are talking about constant transformation. Are we okay so far? But okay, so now something is going to change. That means there is constant transformation, but there is tension in newness. Which newness? This transformation, this perpetual state of renewal, and in that there is some tension. Now, what is going to happen next will blow your mind. What is going to happen next? The paragraph is going to tell me about the tensions, right? What happens because of too much change or change. In the late 1960s, purists were suspicious of folk songs recast in rock idioms. So folk songs made in rock style, idioms is a difficult word in this context, but it's just folk songs made in rock style. And the purists, which purists? The folk music purists were suspicious or critical of songs in the rock modification. Electrification, however, comes in many forms because rock music is electric music. So electrification, he's saying, came in many forms. Rock wasn't the only way. For the early 20th century composers such as Vaughan Williams and Holst, there were thunderbolts of inspiration from Oriental mysticism, angular modernism, and the body blow of the First World War. Try and simplify it for yourself in terms of an idea. What is happening in terms of an idea? These Vaughan Williams and Holst are going to be folk music composers, and they were hit by thunderbolts of inspiration from many places. That means not only folk renews, it also absorbs from the world. Are we okay with the idea? Yes, no? And the usual 0-day reading lesson is still this, that once I understood that constant transformation, at least this much of a box I could have gone through faster. And once I understood this, that we are talking about folk getting inspired, right? So even in a paragraph, first half map, second half map will work, right? And these are early 20th century composers, that means 1920, 1930, etc. For the second wave of folk revivalist, this is the second wave, that means this earlier 20th century must be the first wave, or people before the second wave, right? And again, I'm getting characters such as Evan McCall and Al Lloyd starting in the 40s. The vital spark, compare it to that thunderbolts of inspiration, right? So I'm getting more inspiration which inspired folk musicians. The vital spark was communism's dream of a post-revolutionary New Jerusalem. Long sentence, just a communism's dream, right? For their younger successors, another generation, because I should, maybe I missed it, in the 40s, right? And now I'm going towards the 60s, who thronged the folk club set up by the old guard. Who's the old guard? People in the 40s. The lyrical freedom of Dylan and the unchained melodies of psychedelia created the conditions for folk rock's own golden age. So this happened and that happened, and I'm getting the main ideas very clearly. A brief Indian summer, and once again, let me check your vocabulary. What do we mean by an Indian summer? Also, please hit the like button and tell a friend. What do we mean by a brief Indian summer? One can always Google it as well. And if you're a serious test taker, what you should do is go through 5-10 passages a day, practice a lot, and have a notebook ready to write down every single word that you do not know, and see what happens in 15, 20, 30 odd days, right? If not anything else. Ideally, do this through the year. Indian summer is warm autumn. No, the Indian summer is a very specific term, like it's like a word or an idiom essentially. An Indian summer refers to a brief golden period. Why? Because in Britain the summers are very short, and if the summer is great, right, because otherwise it's raining and it's very cold and everybody is miserable. So if the summer is great, it is called an Indian summer. But even that is, in Britain the summers are short anyway. So an Indian summer is a brief golden period, very happy period. Say, let's say if you're in a relationship and you say that was our Indian summer. And yes, you might think that Indian summer means very hot and dusty and you're dying of heat stroke. But no, guys, please Google. If you do not know, Google. I'm checking if you know or not. Okay, so story is happening. If I ask again while reading, I haven't read the rest of the paragraph, can I see a trend? 40 something happened, 60 something happened, and we are talking about how they are renewing themselves by new inspirations and what were their reasons for those inspirations. So nothing very challenging. I'm just going on. 4 decades on, even that progressive period, which progressive period? This 1969 to 97 period has become just for one more era ripe for fashionable emulation and pastiche. What is the meaning of pastiche? Not that it matters for the answering of the questions, but just fun. The idea of folk tradition being exclusively confined to the oral transmission has become much looser, less severely guarded concept. Recorded music and television for today's metropolitan generation are where equivalent folk memories are seeded. So, okay, is any part of it challenging to read as such? No. And you will have to read all of it. As you read the question, you will realize that you have to go back. So, might as well read it in one order. So, I have read this paragraph already. I have read this paragraph. This is about transformation, little bit of tension, but lots of inspiration from other places. I also saw how folk influences other arts like designers, artists, clothing and furniture and everything. And then I'm getting specifics, what happened in the 40s, what happened in the 60s, and then lastly coming to a conclusion of sorts that now folk has moved to television studios or recorded music and television is the place where folk is. I still haven't read the first paragraph, so let me go for that. Free from the taint of manufacture. That phrase in particular is heavily loaded with the ideology of what the Victorian socialist William Morris called the anti-scrape or anti-capitalist conservationism, not conservatism. So let's see, long sentence, I'm not getting what's this about. Let me fix this. Right, but if I know that overall context is folk music, so something to do with that. So this is the kind of anti-conservatism, capitalist conservationism that solaced itself with the vision of a pre-industrial golden age. So free from the taint of manufacture, because everything is getting manufactured in the new society, factory produced. I want to go back to a pre-industrial golden age. So introductory quote. In Britain, so we are talking about British folk music, folk may often appear a cozy fossilized form, but when you look more closely, the idea of folk, who has the right to sing, dance, invoke, collect, has always been contested territory. Easy enough, even if you can't make 100% sense of it, just holding the information in your head will be enough. Are we okay with reading the passage? And can we move towards the questions now? And I might have read too many details also, just because don't want to lose out on going through the details anyway, or if somebody is getting confused in the passage. So this is our first question. The author says that folk may often appear a cozy fossilized form because. Now let all of those ideas that you have read, that this happened, that happened, folk is in renewal, it gets new ideas, it is cool also, chic also, it has ancient connection also. Put all of it together and just take a logical guess. What do you think the answer would be? And you will see that 3 options are just wrong and they don't match that overall whatever you have seen. A question mark, Karan says A, Sujit says A, Karan says A, Jyotsna says A. Anybody else wants to throw in their answer? And if you could answer this question, and if you think you are right, you are right. Because why would you call something cozy fossilized? What does the term fossilized tell you? Something old? Look at the rest of the options. It has been arrogated for various political and cultural purposes. Did we see this anywhere that folk has been used by political and cultural purposes? Nowhere. This will be appealing to that person who gets lost in the story and say, yeah, something, yeah, because the whole thing did not make sense. But otherwise, I hope you realize how ridiculous this option is. Yes? Folk music. Folk is a sonic, shabby chic with an antique veneer. Two different ideas. Shabby chic was in the context of saying that folk has become hip also, right? And the question is, why does it appear cozy and fossilized? So, Sony Shabak chic has nothing to do with the antique veneer. These are two separate ideas in the same paragraph. But shabby chic is not the reason why it is antique, and nor why is it considered, or the author might be considering it a cozy fossilized form, right? So, again, two ideas being cross connected together. The notion of folk has led to several debates and disagreements. Is that why am I calling it fossilized? No. Because if I have read the story, you will see, I mean, the only challenge here was this cozy fossilized form happens in the first paragraph. History, that how it is connected to the British old age, etc., dark age, etc., happens in the next paragraph. That's the only difference. Otherwise, again, I also did a session called speed via logic. That means it's commonsensical most of the time if the main idea is clear. Are we okay with this question? Yes. Moving on. And again, though passage wasn't difficult, the story was a little bit going in a circle, left, right, etc. But once again, notice the test is logical in nature. The test is looking for managers, not literature students. So I hope you read the question, and I hope you also realize that even if you had not read those many details, but your verbal common sense is very, very high, you will manage this fairly quickly. How to improve that sense is to just read and consume language. Unnecessarily, I was making so many facial expressions when I wasn't even on screen. Yeah, the question is all of the following are causes for plurality and diversity within the British folk tradition, except why are they plural and why are they diverse? Right, B, yes, absolutely B. And notice how ridiculous this option is in terms of the question, right? Paradoxically, folk forms are both popular and unpopular. Because they are both popular and unpopular, is that why they are plural and diverse? So this is just a very, very obvious bad choice to pick up, And I hope you realize that's the game in RC as well, just like DILR and Quant. And congratulations to everyone on spotting it without even visiting the passage back, right? Congratulations and celebrations. Brace. Are we okay with that? And the game, right? Spot the game. Now, what will happen is if you try and read each of them, each of the options, you might get confused. The fluidity of folk forms owing to their history of oral mode of transmission. Then you will go and check the fact whether it's because of this or that. But if you think in a diffuse manner, you will realize that yeah, this is oral mode is because is the reason behind fluidity. That British folk forms can be traced to the remote past of the country, and then you start thinking, connected to the remote past, is it the reason for that? I can't see the connection. But compare it to this option, which just does not make sense, and then rest everything will be easy. Yes. Right, I'm waiting for that you to say yes, you understand the RC game. Reading, yes. Going back and checking facts, also yes, but mostly logic about what the question is. You guys want to try an experiment? I'm going to give you a question from one of another Cat 19 passage, and I will not even give you the passage. I think you will guess the answer. I think. Yeah, let's try that. Just a little break for fun. Right, don't worry about reading at all. Don't worry about reading at all. And I say this is the question. A small experiment to prove that a lot of and I'm not saying, I'm not recommending it as a shortcut technique. I'm saying once you're an deep expert, what happens? Try this question out, guys. And you will see the game. Is anybody trying out this question? This is, forget about which passage is it from. Just read and see, can you get to the answer? And meanwhile, please hit the like button. And get 5 family members to come and do that as well from their own phones. Don't feel scared, just read it and you will see the answer, I think. Josna, read the question carefully once again. Gautam, read the question once again carefully. Just the question. What do you think the question's main agenda is? And congratulations to Sujit and Tia. If you are confident about what you're saying, if you're just guessing, then not congratulations have been taken back. And if you understood this idea right now, you have understood the cat game. And that how it's not like a gigantic thing requiring 1,000 hours of work. Please tell me, how did you come to the answer? Try and articulate it to a friend, and then tomorrow tell 5 people about it that I tried a Cat 19 question without reading the passage. Yes, I hope you're I'm kind of getting goosebumps here. Yeah, I'm so excited about this. Let's try it together. I know you can't articulate via voice and typing takes time, so I will do it for you. Question was, which one of the following statements would undermine the author's stand regarding the greenness of the cities, right? So maybe the author is saying cities are green, maybe he's saying cities are not green, etc. Let me give you a small hint that the author is saying cities are green. But even if not that, the compactness of big cities in the West increases the incidence of violent crime. The issue at debate is greenness of cities. How will the violence reduce the attack the author stand? Whether he's saying the cities are extra green or less green, it doesn't matter. Sorting through rubbish contributes to the rapid spread of diseases in the slums. Is it about disease, whether the cities are centers of disease or disease spread quickly, or is it about greenness, just let's say based on what you have in front of you? The high density of cities leads to an increase in carbon dioxide and global warming, which you know is connected to greenness. More carbon dioxide means less greenery, right? And so this such a commonly linked topic, greenery and carbon dioxide and global warming, and therefore it's your answer. In fact, chances are if you read the passage, you will spend far more time evaluating these options and go fact check, etc. Let me evaluate the fourth option as well. Over the last decade, the cost of utilities has been increasing. Utility or greenness? So the only option dealing with that was this option, right? I am not suggesting that you try it out immediately in the exam, but I am suggesting to have the logic engine, the common sense, critical thinking, and that's why bol ke, I mean, I've died. Please finish the critical reasoning section. It's the most important thing, not only for reading but for future goals as well. Thank you. Thank you. I'm waving because I'm assuming you guys are also very happy and like clapping wherever you're sitting, right? So two questions, not one, two questions we saw back to back were just like a sharp awareness, a little bit of standing, sitting up straight, playfulness, not thinking, oh my god, is my future going to be about what? Focusing on the task at hand, and it's quite easy. Yeah, Karan, wow, right? Yeah, I know. uh, so this is another question from that folk music passage. I hope you can see it well. Yeah. The game is still the same. Three options, something wrong with them. Even if finding the right thing is difficult, eliminate the wrong. History will be written about this little session that we had. Will poets sing of our deeds? Karan, is this the new answer for the new question on screen? New answer. Okay, so new answer and correct once again. You just had to wade through the long sentence and find something which was just factually incorrect, which you haven't seen in the passage. Exhibit an unusual poise and homogeneity. Homogeneity means lack of change. Whereas I read that renewal was change and it changed in so many forms. So folk forms, in their ability to constantly adapt, This was there. To the changing world. This was there. Exhibit an unusual poise and homogeneity wasn't there. Rest everything I will give, later go through the passage and you will see everything was available. So my final answer, and I hope everybody is clear with that, is going to be option 3. If you chose some other answer, once again the issue is, and I haven't shared the whole passage with you, so that could be the reason. But let's go through them also. The power of folk resides in its contradictory ability to influence and be influenced. I saw it did influence and it was getting influenced by the present while remaining rooted in the past. I know that past connection to be true as well. Folk forms, despite their archaic origins, remain intellectually relevant. I know this was also there, that it's old, but it's also chic and hip. And this is the answer. The plurality and the democratizing, uh, the plurality and democratizing impulse of folk forms emanate from the improvisation that its practitioners bring to it. Yeah, I saw this idea somewhere, right? So that's what I meant in the beginning, that same idea, different words here and there should not make too much of a difference. If it is making too much of a difference, deep dive, read a lot and collect a lot of words. When I say read a lot, I mean just read. Don't worry about analyzing. Just like let the language hit you, consume, and do this kind of critical reading with 3 to 4 passages, 2 passages a day for 60 days, and that will be more than enough. So I hope everybody is clear with the game, and everybody did get it right. So again, every time I do a passage, and it's every time it comes out easy, and every time someone comes and says, no, but that passage, Aladdin, somebody was going Aladdin, and then Aladdin happened, and they're like, no, sir, folk music is difficult, and this is even easier, though the language might throw you off, right? Do invest in kick-ass vocabulary. Again, sitter of a question, see if you can manage. Sujit says, yeah, so obvious. We read it. I did read that part slow and emphasize it, etc. But that's what happens when, let's say, if your concentration is high, that memory will remain. Ambika, you can always start from the beginning of the session. I want to do one more passage, but I think I've gone very slowly once again today. But don't worry, we can just do another one later. And Ambika, because you haven't been telling me, so I hope you finished all the previous recent sessions also. If not, they are loaded on the course page. Watch them at 1.5x because live is slightly slower. Watch them at 2x. You will understand. So the primary purpose of the passage, I think people have given an answer. Everybody has given me too. That what is once regarded as radical in folk can later be seen as conformist. Now this was a simple idea as well, but I know for sure that if you read linearly and started from the first paragraph, one could have been stuck in the first paragraph itself with that anti-capitalist conservationism, etc., and then lost the whole plot altogether. So that's why broad idea always first. Are we okay? Those who have been continuing, they started from the beginning. So I'm assuming everybody got the answer. Now this might be a little bit tricky and might require you to read through the passage, but let's see. Actually, even this is easy. Sujit. mm, So, what can be, which of the following statements about folk revivalism of the 1940s and 60s cannot be inferred from the passage? Do you guys want to go back to the passage, these particular paragraphs from earlier? Correct, actually. I'm responding to chat, so let's see. Siddham says, two, without reading, electrification is not discussed. It was mentioned, rock and electrification comes in many forms, if you remember. Gautam says 3, Josna says 3. So let's see. Answer is 2. Let me first settle that. Okay. And now, if you think about it commonsensically, this is like a far-fetched thing. Electrification of music would not have happened without the influence of rock music. Who knows that for sure? Did I get any such information in the passage anywhere at all? So this was the obvious, I mean, it is not there in the passage. Let me take you through the paragraphs which might be troubling you. So rock was mentioned somewhere here. By the way, those who marked this option 3, for them, this is the hint. Purists were suspicious of folk songs recast in rock. That means it wasn't the revival in the 19s and the 60s was not free from criticism, right? You might be thinking, where is the criticism? Here is the criticism. So I hope people realize, Sujit, for example, that 3 is not the answer. No, that's no problem because I haven't shared the text with you. You're working with memory, and normally the memory will be like 2 minutes old. Right now it's like 30 minutes old, so that might be problematic too. But I hope you see the answer is there. This might have required some extra effort. And notice this statement to correct for the correct answer. Electrification, however, comes in many forms. So even if you do not take rock as a story, electrification can come in any other direction, right? From electronic music altogether, the modern electro music, right? So I hope it's clear why the answer is how can you say that electrification would not have happened without rock music at all? And that's it. These ones were easy to guess that okay, freedom and rebellion were themes in the second transformation. It reinforced Cecil Sharp's observation about folks' constant transformation. Yes, lot of changes happening from 1940s to 1960s. Are we okay with what happened here? And that's it. I think we're done with the passage, and I hope the lessons are hitting home. That reading, yes, not getting lost in details, mapping, using the conjunctions, etc. And then after that, it becomes a option evaluation game as well, where again you have to reset your concentration and read the lines very, very carefully. Maverick, in the lockdown, where are you roaming around? Never leave home at all. Where is hand sanitizer? Guys, reminder. Corona, go Corona, go. or stay also a little bit. Everybody's studying more, looking inwards, pollution is lower. But politics, nonsensical level of politics is in check. So Maverick, do watch this discussion. Something like very random happened in between. So I think this is enough long session. I will stop now. I will do another one very soon. I'll keep you posted. In case you have joined in late, start from the beginning. Hit 1.5x playback because there's a lot of slowness in this live interaction, no waiting and everything. So 1.5x, 2x speed is best, by the way. And or try out the remaining passages that have been, like the remaining CAT 19 passages by yourself, play with it. Basically in any training format we want to reach a level, whether in maths or DILR, where you become self-correcting, right? Where you try out a passage, if you get a question wrong, you realize, oh yeah, this is a mistake I'm making and this is how I could have improved my performance. So if you have followed the whole series, like for example Maverick may have followed the whole series through the course, then you're pretty much done. Now it's just pushing, etc. So get that auto learning game going as well, because I hope by now you're seeing that it is easy. The game is logic and common sense more than very heavy language as such, though language can definitely help. Do invest in it. So that's it for today. My name is Ankur Suryavanshi. My courses are available here. Thanks to those. Genghis Khan, yeah, why not? Or cat jump. Did you guys see the cat pass through? Perfect paragraph I found for Genghis Khan. One paragraph. So in case you do not know, for the last whatever number of sessions we've been reading, at the end of each session a small paragraph, a little bit from this book. So read this book or read more about Genghis Khan. I also shared earlier Crash Course video on Genghis Khan, and you'll find so much more, and such an interesting character. So today we are going into war strategy, which is my favorite thing to do, because I think someday when technology recedes, all of us will be in horses, and this information will be needed then to fight China, etc. You can just let me, this is the course that we are talking about, guys. By the way, I'll share the link. So I've shared the link. This is the course page. So in contrast to the massive infantry armies that moved slowly and fought along a particular front or on a specific battlefield, right? That's how armies work. The Mongols practiced warfare across the entire territory. Let me fix that and continue reading. So they practiced warfare across the entire territory, and the ensuing turmoil and confusion allowed the Mongols to employ clever trickery of all sorts. So they were using a lot of this psychological warfare, and I mean hundreds of strategies and techniques, right? So if you're looking for technique expertise, Genghis Khan is a great hero. So in one episode, the Mongols captured a convoy with a high-ranking official en route to relieve the besieged city of Dading. One of the Mongols, dressed in the envoy's clothes, took his official papers and proceeded to the enemy city in disguise. They were clever as hell, guys. Once inside the city, the Mongol pretender fooled the local officials into believing that they had just defeated the Mongols. The pretender then oversaw the painstaking dismantling of the city's defense and the withdrawal of troops. After several weeks of disarmament, he sent word to the Mongols, who returned like lightning and easily took the city. So, I love this. The Mongols not only took advantage of such trickery, but in their relentless use of propaganda, they spread stories to foment anxiety and fear among the enemy. Foment is a good word, write it down, FOMENT, to incite anxiety and fear among the enemy. In one apocryphal account, what is apocryphal? In one apocryphal account circulated to create anxiety among the enemy, the Mongols supposedly promised to retreat from a besieged city if the Jurchid defenders would give them a large number of cats and birds as booty. According to the story, the starving residents eagerly gathered the animals and gave them to Mongols. After receiving all the, I love this part of the story. After receiving all the birds and animals, the Mongols attached burning torches and banners to their tails and released them. What do you think is going to happen to a pet animal if he is in distress? He is going to run towards the city. So first they said, we'll leave if you give us your pet animals. Then they burned them and let them go. Whereupon the frightened animals raced back into the city and set it on fire. The story supplied a dramatic dose of war propaganda. There is also a show on Netflix called Kublai Khan. I think even he tries that with birds or everything, or he mentions this story as such. So I hope that's enough of a dose of war strategy in case you ever have to conquer the world. You'll have to be very, very creative and think on the spot, right? Are they conquering the world with a strategy, this is how we should do it, or are they just evaluating in every situation what to do? So, lesson again is always be like Genghis, sea of grass. So, that's it for today. Please hit the like button, tell a friend, buy a course, gift me stuff, shower some love, make some noise. My name is Heisenberg.